Like most of the villages of the Sierra Nevada, Yegen was composed of two barrios or quarters, built at a short distance from one another. The Barrio de Arriba, or upper quarter, which was the one in which I lived, began just below the road and ended at the church. Here there was a level space, some 2 or 3 acres in extent, a break in the endless slope, which was given over to cultivation. And immediately below that, the Barrio de Abajo, or lower quarter, began. The extraordinarily strong feelings of attachment which Spaniards have to their native place showed themselves even in the case of these barrios. But although there was no difference in their social composition, there was a decided feeling of rivalry between them. People made their friends chiefly in the one in which they lived, and if they had to move house, avoided settling in the other. Both in politics and in private quarrels, the two barrios tended to take different sides. But since there were no obstacles to intermarriage, the feeling never went very deep, and did not, of course, compare with the gulf that divided one pueblo or village from another. Politics is the primary and fundamental passion of all Spaniards, the frame into which they pour their unconscious aggressive energies. Love is quite unable to compete with it, and in fact has never done so in any age of Spanish history. It is for this reason that the ages of love in Spain have always been the ages of political stagnation or repression. Every dictatorship is born under the sign of Venus, and those winged patent leather hats of the civil guard that shine so brightly in the sun are, as any 16th century poet would have seen, las alas de Cupido. My village had little use for the benefits provided by science. It could have had electric light like both Valor and Athena, but through its indifference and apathy, it failed to secure the services of the electricity company. It could also have had the telephone, but when the wires were brought along the road, it turned down the offer of a call box. What, it not unreasonably asked, was the point of wasting good money on a thing which no one would use?
Well, now they do use telephone and light.
The light's quite good too, isn't it? It's
yes,
bad.
Yes, they do, and there's about 12 telephones in the village and a lot of televisions, transistor radios that they brought from Germany. Yeah. The people who go to Germany come back with transistor radios.
Well, that's a terrible pity, because in my time, everyone walking off to his work in the morning with his horse or mule used to sing coplas, that is, flamenco songs. And that appears to have completely gone out in Spain in the last 10 years.
Yes, people don't sing now.
No, they don't sing.
The women sing when they're whitewashing.
When they're whitewashing.
But the men don't sing.
No.
Hardly ever.
No. Well, I think it's a terrible pity that.
I heard you brought the first Victrola to the village.
The what?
The first Victrola you brought to the village.
Yes, I brought one, yes, a little gramophone. But with flamenco records in it.
Yes.
Put on in the evenings.
Well, here now they have the gramophone in the dance hall.
In the dance hall,
yes. And people, when they dance to modern music, not flamenco.
No. Well, it's not always so easy to dance to flamenco. You've got to dance different way, usually. The other dances were very simple. They just went round in circles, hugging one another, and absolutely solemn faces.
Yes.
And all packed together, very close.
Yes. Well, now they dance all the latest dances.
All the latest dances. house where I spent 5 or 6 of the best years of my life. I had a long search for it. I came walking on foot from Granada and visiting every village on the way, several hundred miles. And I at last found a house that was free, it was empty, and it was not too expensive. I used to pay, I think it was £6 every year for the whole house and a little bit of garden. And it was a very large house with about 15 rooms in it. But now it's completely changed. It's divided up into 5 different flats because there's no longer any place in these villages for large landowners who have large houses. This is the patio of the house where I lived for so many years. You can see on each side a stone bench. That was a bench on which the beggars or poor people sat when they came to the house. As it was a large house, a good many came, not from the village, for they would come straight up to the door, but those many poor people who wandered about the roads going from village to village. And they would sit here, and the person who worked for me would see them, and they would be offered bread and oil, very rarely money. In those days, not only the poor, but a great many other people would like to eat a piece cut from a loaf of bread with a little oil poured into it. I, of course, didn't do that. I like butter. But butter was a great rarity in Spain. Only the rich ate it. In the last century, the rich families of Malaga were known popularly as the butter people because they ate butter which came in tins from Holland. I like butter too, but it was not because I was rich, it was because I was English. As you see, this house was not very luxurious, yet it belonged to the richest man in the village, you might call the boss of the village, very different to the bosses or caciques whom one reads about in the big cities. He had only 4 or 5 men who worked on his land, and he paid them 2 pesetas 50 a day. Well, you see, that was very little. When I stayed at a small, cheap hotel on the coast, an inn, you might say, I paid 6 or 7 pesetas for the night and the bed. And that is an enormous amount less than what you pay in a hotel today. But the rich man of this village, the owner of this house, had 2 luxuries. One was he had a water closet. No one else had. They just went down to the stables. And then he had running water.
Brenan has found himself in his village south from Granada, where time seemed to have stood still. 50 years after the discovery of Yegen, and following in his and Margaret Osborne's wake, English and American travelers are beginning to arrive and to ride on horseback around this Shangri-La, hidden away in the mysterious Andalusia, just as if they were on a pilgrimage to a sanctuary.